The combination of Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, along with Jimmy Butler, minimizes the excuses. They still don't have depth, but so much, and that's problematic. They still need probably another player. If Markelle Fultz didn't have all the daggone problems that he has, and he was somebody that you could rely upon to come off the bench and make a contribution, then I think we would be talking about the 76ers in a different light. Let's say, for example, Max, if Markelle Fultz was anywhere in the realm, the caliber of a Jason Tatum, a Mark, and then a Dennis Smith Jr. You know, you don't even have to go the route of Don. You know, De'Aaron Fox for crying out loud. Then if he was any of those guys.
Unfortunately, the Sixers didn't have a chance to draft Jason Tatum.
Don't even get me started with that. I mean,
they traded a draft pick to not trade
to move up to get Markelle Fultz and pass on Jason Tatum.
Wise.
And by the way, we've been talking about all of those other. Hold on, Max. We've been talking about those other guys. De'Aaron Fox. Keep your eye. I told you that boy is going to be special. And I've been watching him in Sacramento. He's special. But having said all of that, here's what we have to look up at the Sixers. Joel Embiid, you going to play with your back to the basket? Because that's a dimension you need to add to your game. Ben Simmons, when are you going to develop a jump shot? I see the triple doubles. I see you balling, but I still need to see a jump shot. And Jimmy Butler obviously is playing for a new contract, and the cohesion needs to maturate. But in the end, what it comes down to is the Sixers will win 50 games. The Sixers will make it to the conference semifinals. That's the expectation. There should be nothing else that's expected. You could hope for a trip to the conference finals. It could happen, although the odds are against it. But the expectation is the second round.
Yeah, they're a top 4 team. I'd say they're 4th. I think 1 is Toronto, 2 is Boston, 3 is Milwaukee, 4 is Philadelphia. And that's what it is. As I said, when they fired Sam Hinkie, you had to hire a smart GM. They didn't. They hired a bad GM. Brian Colangelo, I told you at the time he would mess it up, and he messed it up. Just as I said he would. I've got to start keeping track of this because at a certain point, like that was a topic. What do you think of Brian Colangelo? There were some, we argued about this, who thought, oh, that's a perfectly good. It was a bad hire. He messed it up. Now, this is all they get for all those years of tanking. Even if you think Sam Hinkie wasn't the guy, get a better guy than Brian Colangelo. Okay. Now let's look at what they have and why they're not succeeding. Why aren't the expectations conference finals or Stephen A. finals? Because Embiid and Simmons both seem as though they have generational talent. You got 2 of those guys, and you got a third wheel in Jimmy Butler. If Jimmy Butler is your 3rd best player, you should be good enough to win a championship. What is really the problem? Let's strip it all away. Ben Simmons can't shoot. That's it. And he won't shoot, in fact. When we saw him as a rookie, it looked like by this year, maybe he'd be like where the Greek Freak is. Also without a jump shot, right? He's not. If Ben Simmons could shoot, I might pick the Sixers to get out of the East. He not only can't, he won't even take the shot. He's got to start shooting, or they will never go in. If he did that, expectations would change. Until he does that, particularly because of what Stephen A. brought up about Markelle Fultz's failure so far, they ain't getting past the semi. They're winning a playoff series, and that's it. Those are the expectations, and everyone knows it. That's what's going to happen.
There's no disagreement there because we all know that Ben Simmons needs to shoot the ball better, and he needs to try. He needs to be a threat from the perimeter because I think that's the only thing preventing him from being LeBron Part 2. He's that elite.
He's LeBron.
Ben Simmons is that special, but he's got to develop a perimeter shot. Joel Embiid, though, I'm not going to totally let him off the hook. This is a guy that's averaging 26 and 13. He's phenomenal. But if he added a dimension of being able to be relied upon with his back to the basket, it's not about free throw shooting. It's not even about getting to the free throw line. It's about dictating pace. If you could get to the free throw line a little bit more, if you could score in the post, if you could get them to slow it down without needing to face the basket and putting the ball on the floor, that could bode well for the Sixers as well.
I think more than that, Embiid's got to get a better shot. Like, Embiid shoots a lot of threes. He doesn't hit a lot of threes.
27%.
They have gotten better, though, since Jimmy Butler. I mean, the record shows it. And you can argue that the balance of power has officially shifted to the East. So let's go deeper into the conference, Stephen A. Who do you think comes out of the East? Going Celtics,
Max
Raptors?
has been talking about Toronto all year long, and there's no denying that at this particular juncture, he is right. When I look at Toronto, they are impressive, but I'm not giving up on the Celtics. I think that a big problem for the Celtics was when Brad Stevens worked, him and Danny Ainge in concert, worked diligently to re-ingratiate Gordon Hayward into the mix. He was at a 25-minute restriction initially. Now he's about a little over 26 minutes. And I like Gordon Hayward a lot, but that was a real nasty injury. It's going to take him a couple of years to fully recover from it. But I think trying to get him back into the mix early on cost him because it compromised Jaylen Brown, it compromised Jason Tatum. And then all of a sudden, when they go on this little winning streak and what have you, what transpired? Marcus Smart was inserted into the starting lineup. Marcus Smart is just a rough rider, a defender, great at drawing offensive fouls as well. And he's a guy that doesn't need the ball to be effective. I think that has bode well for them. They go through a little up and down from here and there, but for the most part, they've been better since he's been in the starting lineup.
Morris, too, by the way.
That's right. I am not giving up on the Boston Celtics. I still believe in these boys.
Marcus Morris, too. Those two, when they went into the starting lineup, everything changed. And I think they have the best GM. I like Masai Ujiri a lot. If I had to choose one GM, I'd say Danny Ainge in the East. I think they have the best GM. I think they have the best coach. They have a championship player running the offense. They have the most talent. I still like the Raptors, Stephen A. And it's not that I disagree with you that, like, if everything worked out perfectly, the heights that the Celtics should be able to hit should be higher than the Raptors. In fact, if everything worked out perfectly, you'd think maybe the Celtics could even beat the Warriors.
That's what I'm going by, is what I'm saying.
And what I'm saying is the odds that they get it just right, like there's a lot of moving parts there. There's the injury. You have to reintegrate two huge parts of your offense, one of whom didn't even play at all last year and is obviously physically compromised. The other, the ball sticks with him, so that compromises ball movement and getting everyone involved. You have two young ascending players who ascended faster than we thought because of Hayward's injury. Now all of a sudden Hayward's back. It's crowded in terms of minutes. Brown's got to be feeling a certain kind of way about that. Tatum hasn't been as good. Horford has been hurt all year. He's had a bad year so far. He was a great player in the playoffs last year. Like, every single thing has to go right for the Celtics to be the best team in the East. I think the odds are against it. I like the Raptors, who also have the best player in the East.
The difference between you and I is that you think everything has to go right for the Celtics to get to that point. I think everything has to go right for the Raptors to get to that point.